You ready?
Yeah, go right ahead.
It's Wednesday night. It's 8 p.m. You know what that means? That means it's time for Quick Fix Golf Open House. And tonight's topic is, when is it time to buy new golf equipment? I hear this one all the time. Had a guy idea. That's what gave us the idea. Had a guy the other day walked up to me and he says, when do I buy new clubs? When the faces are worn? I said, let me see your clubs. He pulled out one of the clubs and the faces weren't even close to being worn. I said, you haven't hit a ball in the face yet. You might need to fix the back of the club. I said, no, you don't buy new clubs because the face is worn. But we'll go over that this evening. So let's take a look at what we got going here. There's Darren. As you see, he's the nominee of everything. And he just won the Myrtle Beach golfer #1 golf instructor. Is it not?
Yeah, another one.
Did Melanie tell you?
Yeah, we do great. I mean, you spend enough on advertising, they'll give you anything, any kind of award you want. So.
No, you earned it. You earned it. Ready #2 in Havana. There you go. That's my claim to fame. And oldest member of the PGA. You left it on top.
I meant to move that, but I forgot to move it. So
taught golf to Bobby Jones when Jones was a kid.
Sorry, it's too funny.
Are we getting points for this?
I don't see Tom laughing.
Tom, I told him to move it over to my slide. Not to pick on you again because that wasn't fair. I told him to move it to my slide. He didn't do it. And here's our CTO, Srinivas Aladi from India, and he's just been a great addition to the group. Now the app works. You can download the app. You can just go to the App Store and download the app absolutely free, or go to Google Play if you have an Android phone and download it, and you'll have a green banner across the top that says get a free analysis. Click on that and follow the bouncing ball. Upload your video, and we'll get either Darren, Tom, or I will have it, and we'll do a complete analysis for you. Then, of course, Tee Time Golf Pass. You want to get that for Christmas. It's very inexpensive. Just go to the teetimegolfpass.com and use the promo code QuickFixGolf-10, and you get 10% off whatever price they're giving you there.
It's
and they got all kinds of switches. Yeah, you got to have it.
You got to do it. It pays for itself. And
1,000 courses.
Yep.
1,000 golf courses up and down the East Coast. Well,
and they just got more. I think they got another 250 or 300. So, yeah.
I better hurry up if I'm going to play them up before I'm dead. And, of course, we're the home of the free swing analysis, as I mentioned earlier. Just download the app, and you're off and running. You'll see a green banner across the top, free golf analysis. Now, tonight's topic, of course, again, is when should you buy golf clubs? And Darren suggested it's the skill level has changed. What did this guy do? Jump in the water? He was so upset?
Yeah, he fell in the water. His skill level is very low. So
he looks like a hell of a player. I mean, he's got the hat. He's got the shirt.
There's those people that look the part, but don't play the part. But, yeah, your skill level is going to determine a lot about the equipment that you have. So
well, I hear people tell me sometimes they'll say, well, I buy a set of clubs and I'm still can keep taking lessons. I'm going to get better. Are the clubs going to fit me then?
No, that's just such a that's when people are fooling themselves. They're lying to themselves, because you have to have a golf club that will help you and not hurt you. And I see it all the time. People that come up here to Tupelo Bay and they got golf clubs that, even Tiger Woods could put it in the air. So you got to have some clubs that'll give you some help and not hurt you. And that doesn't mean you have to spend thousands of dollars. Just start out with a 7-iron, something like that. That's modern, lightweight. It's got a grip that's somewhat decent. You don't have to spend a lot, but no, the golf equipment, you need it to help you and not hurt you. Especially when you're new,
But if you get lessons and you're improving, does it change the shaft stiffness? Do you all of a sudden say, I got to throw these clubs away and start all over again? I find it's really not the case, because they don't really change club head speed that much as they're thinking. It's better that they get a better path and they're more consistent, but they're not necessarily going to hit the ball a heck of a lot further than what they hit it, even with a crummy swing, when they catch a good one.
True.
So here we go. This is thanks to Tom. Tom, tell us about this club.
That Tiger Woods' 8-iron from the year 2000, in that era. the thing that you would, of course, assume the ball's going to be in the middle of the club face from toe to heel, which of course it is, dead center. However, you look how low on the club face he hits that golf ball. His goal was always to get the ball off the club head before the club head hit the ground. The ground is interference. It's chatter, whatever you call it. The club head's going to do something when it hits the ground. Open, close, nothing depends. But there's definitely going to be some chatter. It's a variable that he did not want to have in his game. He wanted to be in full control of his spin and his trajectory, so he did never want to hit the ground before the ball. Ball first, then the ground, which produces a low on the club face strike. And that was his idea. Now, there's those famous videos of him and Scotty Scheffler saying, walked by Tiger's spot and with a single divot. And Tiger said, I don't take divots. And Scotty looked at him like, what are you saying? He said, when I'm swinging good, I don't take divots. And he just used that he just wanted to hit low on the club face, just clip it off the turf. Now, and there's, of course, all the doubters said, oh, we got pictures of Tiger taking divots. Of course you do. Situationally, he's going to have to take divots, depending on the lie and different things. But if he's swinging good, he's got a good lie, he's going to hit the ball low on the face and barely just scrape the grass. There's another video. Darren Clark said the same thing. He said Darren Clark watched him hit balls for an hour. After he left, there wasn't a single divot taken out of the area he hit balls from. Darren Clark said he'd never seen anything like it in his whole life. As Darren Clark, who's seen a few players and is quite the player himself. So
Won the British Open.
That was his feeling. And with the testing that we've done with thousands and thousands of golf swings, we find that when you hit the ball thin, it goes to the right. You hit it fat, it's going to go left almost all the time. It's because of the chatter of the club face in the ground. So that's one thing we always strive for, is get the ball low on the club face, especially if you're trying to get some spin. With wedges, it's mandatory. If you want to spin your wedges, see those guys on tour spinning the wedges, they're hitting that ball in that first groove. You're in the fourth or fifth groove, you're just going to hit a floater. It's just going to float, come down and roll. To get the spin, you got to hit it lower on the face to control the spin.
I was just going to ask. I say, hitting it so low on the club face like that, doesn't you get additional spin? Because it doesn't driver. You know, anything driver, you hit on the bottom of the golf club.
This is irons only. You know, this is iron drivers. The opposite. You want to hit the driver on the top groove,
right,
of your driver. But for irons, especially with shorter irons, where you want to control trajectory and control spin, that's your goal. Now, most people don't have the ability to hit it higher or lower on the face. They're just trying to hit the face. Right? The average player, if he hits it on the face, he's happy. So that's an elite player doing what they do. That's how elite players hit it. All of us want to just hit it on the face.
So yeah, Tom, that's a very good point. You know, and Jack was the same way as Tiger.
Yeah, he was a picker.
We always
Watson.
a lot of times we talk about gear effect, and this might be a little technical, but you know, gear effect is basically where you hit the ball in relationship to the center of the face. But we think of it as right to left. We don't think of it as up and down.
Right.
You know, I'd like to call this vertical gear effect. And, you know, it just depends a little bit on where the center of gravity is on the golf club. So if the center of gravity is low on the club, obviously you're not going to get that effect. But yeah, that vertical gear effect is a very important thing when it comes to how much that ball's spinning, because the ball wants to find the center of the face, wherever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's low, high, left, right, wherever it is.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Darren. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
And you look at you go in every tour player's bag, how many tour players are hitting cavity back cast golf clubs?
Nobody.
None. Because they want that center of gravity. They don't want that center of gravity way, way low on that, because it's going to shoot them up in the air. They lose the spin.
Very good
That's
point.
the biggest reason why good tour players use blades.
Yep. Good point. For sure.
Yeah, and the sad part is that they're always told you can't hit a blade. It's too hard for you. But as far as I'm concerned, the blade still has a lower center of gravity. You still have weight near the bottom of the golf club. It isn't like the Australian blade. Remember the Australian blades back in the 70s? They had weight up on the top of the golf club to try and bring the ball down because the ball spun so much.
Yeah, the whole blade, the whole marketing giant of, you know, cast club, low center of gravity for giving golf clubs is kind of bullshit. Excuse my English. Isn't really as pronounced as we would think it, or they would lead us to believe. It's nice to have a bigger face and, you know, perimeter weighted for the average player, but a decent golfer could play a blade without any problem.
All right.
That we did when I was a kid. That's all you had.
Yeah.
All right, so go ahead,
Oh.
Darren. Sorry.
There you go.
Oh, you want me to go? Technological advancement.
Try again. Say it 3 times quick.
So showing here, is that a wooden shaft in that wood?
That's a wooden shaft. Yep.
That's what, when I started as a kid, I had like a 3579 wooden shafted irons, and I had a Louise Suggs 3-wood with the whipping falling off, which is the string that's around holds the club head on. That's all I had. And the putter was like, you know, a wooden shafted putter. That's what I had.
Bobby, you could probably string a wood, couldn't you?
I used to be able to do them.
I could still do it.
Can
Haven't
you?
done it in a while.
I know I haven't done it in such a long time. But you have to do a lot of them. You get good at it. You get pretty quick. I've seen guys that can do it really fast. But you can't hit the ball as far with that wooden shafted golf club like that. And that.
Yep. There's a lot of different advancements in technology. So not necessarily just with the shaft, but with the club head and
Rich
then
Floyd
the grip,
said-
and the grip too.
Rich Floyd said George Washington had wooden teeth.
That's right.
I can't tell you what Darren has that's wooden.
All right.
There's a picture of your twin brother. If they have physical changes, might be a time to think about changing the configuration on your golf clubs.
And then, you know, this is not a joke. I mean, seriously, I see it often where a person is either put on a ton of weight or they've lost a ton of weight. And it's very easy to see, you know, where they're swinging the golf club from, because it does make a difference there. And when you excessively lose or gain weight, it's going to affect, you know, the distance or the spacing, so to say, of where the golf club is going to swing. So it's definitely something I see often, and it makes a big difference.
I've had that situation happen to me where a guy lost like 40 pounds, 50 pounds. And I said, you know, and I swinging the club quicker. His whole complexion of his golf swing and path and everything changed. How you set up to the ball and everything else. So your lie angle can change and what have you. So I mean, I think lie angle is,
Absolutely.
and lie angle is vital as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it's here's the question right here. Your equipment is not properly fit to you. So you got a big tall guy with short clubs. What do you think of that, Thomas?
Oh, absolutely. We did a lot of that testing. It's just a simple question. We had a 5 foot long 5-iron. Okay, we had found this long shaft, and you have if I gave you that 5 foot long 5-iron, how far you got to stand away from the ball? Miles. If I gave you a 29-inch wedge, you'd stand on top of it. So the clubs do affect your swing, no matter what that's the extreme version. But if your clubs are too short or too long, it's going to affect the way you swing them. Maybe not for the bad or for the good, but it is going to affect your golf swing. It has to. So you got to be fit within a reasonable numbers, if you will. A guy 6'7" can't play in short golf clubs, period. Right? Just going to swing path, is playing, everything's going to be all messed up, and vice versa. So you got to have something reasonably close to play decent golf.
I think a lot of tall guys. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Bobby.
I think a lot of tall guys, they're given a disservice by trying to get longer clubs for them, because the further away you are from that golf ball, the harder it is to hit the center of gravity. And if you make the club more upright for a taller guy, he can maybe live with a club that's maybe an inch over. You know, you see a lot of these guys trying to make 2 and 3 inch over golf clubs. I mean, it's just too much.
Yeah, you got to be 6'8", 6'9" before you start going 2 inches over. You got to be way up there.
Yeah.
You know?
I when I was working for Nicholas, I had a chance to meet Dr. J. And
Wow.
not only did I get a chance to meet him, but I was in the Nicholas magazine with Dr. J holding one of his golf clubs. It's hilarious. I got a great picture of it. But, you know, he's almost like 8 foot tall. And he had some Ping golf clubs. And it was, you know, specialized for him because of how tall he is. But being that far away from the golf ball, I can't even imagine the coordination you have to have from up there. But it was hilarious. I mean, his wedge was as tall as I was. It was hilarious. But one more thought on that is, it's not just your height. It's more of your length of your arms to the ground. You know, so I've seen unfortunately, in some situations where some people are on the shorter side, let's say like 5 foot, and their arms are really long. And what do you do in a situation like that? Well, you got to get like junior clubs. I mean, the clubs that somebody like that needs, there's it's almost embarrassing to that person. They have so much pride that they don't want to have junior golf clubs because they're on the shorter side with long arms. And then there's the other side, taller with short arms. But that's a big part of it as well.
I think one of the places that I'm seeing changes. I say one of the places that we do a very poor job is women's golf clubs. Because even the major manufacturers don't want to do anything with them. They paint them pink and put a shorter shaft, and here's your ladies' golf club. They're hard to fit women. It's hard to fit, especially a decent player. You start looking at men's club, they start getting heavy. It's tough to get a decent woman player a good set of golf clubs.
That's why Griffiths, we used to call them unisex.
Yeah.
The clubs were unisex. And on top of that, one thing they did for a while is they had like dots on the head of the woods. So a 9-degree driver had 1 dot. A 10-degree driver had 2 dots. So you didn't know what the degrees were. 11-degree driver had 3 dots. You had a 14-degree driver that had 4 dots. Because a lot of people need more loft, especially with the driver. They need to hold the ball in the air longer.
But don't tell me saying give them 13 degrees or 14 degrees of loft. They won't bet it.
Right. They'll say, what do you think I am, a sissy?
I want my 9-degree driver.
Which according to what
and don't forget, a 9-degree driver is only 9 degrees at one point on the face.
Yeah.
It's different lofts all over the face. So you say 9 degrees, where? What part? Not much of it.
That's interesting. That's an interesting point. That's true. But there's bulge on the face. Remember the old days we had wood clubs. We could sand the bulge and roll.
Yep.
You can make it look like a knuckle.
And to that degree, manufacturers have a tolerance, some more than others. And I spent a lot of time at the Nicklaus factory, and their tolerance was 1.5 degrees one way or another. So if it's a 9-degree driver, it could actually be, 7.5, or it could be 10.5. There's a tolerance there. And when Jack would go through drivers, they would bring him like 16 drivers, and he'd hit them all, and he'd figure out 1 or 2 or 3 and go from there. But yeah, there's a tolerance, so we really don't know for most people, what they're getting.
Yeah, I used to have a little small measuring device that you could use right there. You could carry it around in your pocket, and then you could check and see exactly what the loft was on the driver.
You carry it around in your pocket?
Carry it around in my pocket when I'm doing lots of fittings and stuff like that. Because you're right. Some cases they say, well, it says 11 degrees on the bottom. I said, yeah, that's what it says. That isn't necessarily what it is. Yep. The other thing I was going to say is Henderson was telling me when I was talking to him on the range, he said that Bernhard Langer's using an 11-degree driver, and that he didn't want anybody to know he was using an 11-degree driver. He wanted it to not be marked on the club head. So it isn't just,
it's pride. It's pride.
Think that way. Even golf pros don't want to be considered a sissy. Now, find your center of gravity. This is near and dear to my heart because I'm a centerness of hit fitter.
Yeah, what does that mean, Bobby?
Well, what it means to me is if I can't get the person to hit the ball more times than not in the center of the club face, right on the center of gravity, then I don't sell them the clubs because they shouldn't have them. We're trying to get the right configuration in their hand that for whatever reason, length, weight, swing weight, shaft flex, whatever the reason is, they seem to hit that ball in the center of the club face more often than any other club that we try in the system. They say that's your golf club.
The thing that most people don't realize is where, like Darren's got those 3 marks on the driver. You hit in the heel, the ball's going to fade no matter what you do. The gear effect's going to make that ball fade. Hit in the toe, the ball's going to have draw spin.
Right.
The gear effect. So people trying to fix their golf swing. Sometimes they need to get a driver that's either different loft, different lie to get them to hit in the middle of the club face. But the best players, some of the good players we've worked with, they try to hit it on the toe slightly till they get a little draw every time, or hit it a little bit in the heel so they get fades every time. And that's again elite players. But that's one of the things you want to. The worst thing you want to do is aim for your draw and hit in the heel. It's going to fade. You hit a push fade.
And speaking of Bobby uses the term what's the term you use? Angular acceleration.
Angular acceleration.
Explain to people what that means.
Well, it's if you've ever marched before, and somebody says column left march, and you've got 4 soldiers trying to turn to the left, almost like a pinwheel. The one on the inside hardly moves at all. He just marks time. And the one next to him has to march a little faster. And the one further out has to march even faster. The one that's all on the end has
Hold
to
on,
march.
let's start over there, Bobby. We lost you for a second.
Well, here.
Oh, it was Tom's cat. Oh, okay. Never mind. Go ahead, start over.
It's got a man-eating cat there. Why don't you just call Chewy and get him something to eat for Pete's sake, the poor bastard.
That's right. Call Chewy.
Don't get him around me because Cubans eat cats.
But I guess, long story short is that the toe of the golf club is going to move faster than the heel of the golf club. If you're thinking about that marching pattern, the inside soldier is going to just kind of turn in place, and the outside soldier, he's going to be hustling. Right, Bobby?
He better hustle. He's not going to get there, and that's why everybody slices.
So, in relationship to, let's say, the average golfer, the toe of the golf club is going to maybe move 2 to 3 miles an hour faster than the center of gravity, and then the heel is not going to move nearly as fast. So, you've got a difference from the heel of the golf club to the toe of the golf club of maybe 4 or 5 miles per hour, which equates to, maybe almost 10 yards, something like that, maybe a little more.
What is the most important part of a golf club?
Oh.
Tom, what do you think?
Club head. Without a doubt. Club head.
What do you vote, Darren?
So I've been to, all the seminars. I've seen all the different workshops, whether it's Titleist, Ping, Callaway, TaylorMade. And I agree with Tom. It's the head of the golf club and not the shaft. You might think differently, Bobby, but I think it's the head of the golf club.
I say not only is it the head of the golf club, it's the weight of the head of the golf club.
Of course. Oh, absolutely. The head itself, all the components of the head. The lie angle, the face, everything. It's the head though matters. And you can include lie angle in that too, as you take into the head.
But the rest of the golf club is built around how much the club head weighs.
Mm-hmm. Good clubs anyway.
Right. So there's another problem. When you start making golf clubs 2 inches longer, and you're still giving the same swing weight or the same gross weight that for somebody that would have the club 2 inches shorter, you got a really heavy golf club.
Mm-hmm.
If it's 2 inches longer, I mean it's heavy. So you might, if you catch one in the center, you might knock the snot out of it, and you go, "Wow, this is great! I can kill this thing." Say, yeah, but how often does that happen? You need something you can be consistent with. But I think the club head, and I think one of the most important part of the club head, as far as I'm concerned, is the sole. How that configuration is, because that's what I like about the what's the name of the Japanese Mizuno. You see a lot of the Mizuno clubs, the leading edge is been turned down a little bit to soften up a little bit, so it's not so sharp. Although I don't mind the sharp edge like Nicholas was. He's a picker, and I feel like the same thing. I have a lot of people tell me, "What about taking a divot?" I said, if a guy's a really, really good player, he doesn't need to take a divot. Especially on Bermuda grass, that ball's sitting up, you just scrape it right off the grass. There was a player, I forgot his name now, it was famous back in the old days of Walter Hagen, and then about how he never took a divot. I forgot, Kyle Laffoon or something like that.
Laffoon, there's a good one.
That's before me.
That's before me. That's before
you got
me.
that on me.
That's before Bobby even.
I thought I was studying, but that's way before me.
Well, listen, when I was with Bill Melhorn, I got listened to stories all the time of all these different guys. I can't remember 10% of them, but he knew all those guys.
Yeah.
He played with Walter Hagen. He played with, Ben Hogan, and Kyle Laffoon was, I think it was an Indian. It was an American Indian. And it was another guy, I forgot his name, but he was a weightlifter, a weightlifting fanatic, and he was well known. And those guys played back in those days, first prize was $500.
They made more than their side bets.
Yes. Well, guys like Hagen were rich.
open up the mics here, especially to Rich doesn't have a microphone, but let's open up the mics and we have any questions here about what we've talked about tonight, equipment, things along those lines. Or put your question in the chat.
But they have to turn their own microphone.
But yeah, you have to turn your own microphone on if you want to have a comment. And, you know, Rich has just had so many different sets of golf clubs.
Yeah, Rich,
It's
tell us about
like-
your set. Is he gone? Did Rich
You know
leave? Oh, Rich is there.
Yeah, but I've had very minimal sets of golf clubs. I mean, maybe 3 in my whole life.
I've used 3 and 18 holes.
I had no set of golf clubs until Darren forced me. He bought me a
That's
set.
right. That's right. You had to, yeah. You have to take that plunge, and that's a good point, Bobby. You got to at some point take that step forward, where you go from steel and a blade-like club to more of a lighter graphite.
Yeah, the part that bothers me is I'm so used to a heavier weight. And I've read it like that as far as Nicholas and Palmer and all those guys, they all play with D5s because it slowed their tempo down on the backswing. But when you get these clubs, they're DO, D1, I don't know.
All right, we got 2 questions in the chat here. We've got how often should you change drivers, irons, wedges to keep up with technology?
I think the
So-
driver's the only one to keep up with.
No. I completely disagree with that. Wedges are a huge part of. Well, that brings up a good.
With the new soul
good point.
configurations, you're right about that. I mean,
It's soul configurations, but not only that, but what we talked about earlier about vertical gear effect, because wedges nowadays are moving all the weight higher, and when you move the weight higher on a golf club or on the club face, what you're doing effectively is moving the sweet spot up as well.
right?
So let's say the sweet spot's lower on the golf club. Let's say we're using that Tiger example. Now we're moving that sweet spot higher than that. And if Tiger strikes a golf club in that same spot, but the center of gravity is higher, he's getting even more vertical gear effect, which is going to put more spin on it and whatnot. But that's the way wedges are kind of going nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess my point is, if you're going to spend money on equipment, you're going to spend it on the driver, you're going to spend it on a sand wedge, you're going to spend it on a putter. Those are the 3 most important clubs in your bag. But the way that sand wedges are moving, they're moving all that weight higher, so you can launch it lower and spin it more, just because of that vertical gear effect. If you understand what that means.
Yeah, that's what I used to tell people. I say, the most important club you're going to buy is your driver. The next is the putter. The next is your wedges, and everything else ties for 4th. Meaning the rest of your iron hybrids, your fairway woods.
Okay, we have another question. How do you know if simply replacing the shaft will do the trick? Well, that's a good question, because I had a student actually yesterday. He had some hybrids, and they were regular flex, 65 grams, kind of a mid kick point. What does all that mean? Well, depending on your swing speed, certain clubs are going to launch the ball at certain angles. And as you get older and you swing slower, you want a kick point that's lower on the golf club. You want a shaft that's a lot lighter. And when you do that, it's going to flex a lot. And it's going to spin the ball a lot more and get it up in the air. And that's what we're doing with this gentleman. I'm glad he's not watching right now, because the Callaway, he had NASA glue. I mean, I had to heat that thing so hard to get the shaft off, but yeah.
You got a shaft puller there, don't you?
I do.
Yeah.
That didn't help. It was like NASA glue, and so were the ferrules. They were like, I don't know. Couldn't even heat them up hard.
Oh, there's a good. Rich, your microphone doesn't work? You've got excellent questions. He said, how do you know when you're buying generic golf clubs that they're not fake?
If it sounds too good to be true, it's too good to be true. If you're getting Callaways for $300 set irons, they're not Callaway. They had when I was in California, a big problem out there with it. You could spot them in a second if you knew what you're looking for. They were close, so if the average player wouldn't know unless you really knew what you're looking for. They're pretty good.
Yeah,
They're
for
made,
sure.
they're made in the same factory as the Callaways. That's the thing. They're making the same clubs. They're making them over there anyway. It's amazing what you can get made over there. The guy I worked in California had sets made. He was making his own clubs over there. It's all just from Chinese. It's all just Chinese forging plants over there. So, you know, Taylor, Titleist, they're all right in the same plant.
All right, any other questions? Who else has got a question?
Other big clubs question?
Anyone else?
Should we buy now before tariffs hit? That's an interesting question. Should we buy now before tariffs hit?
Yes.
If he does what he says he's going to do, it's going to change the
The
price.
answer is
So-
yes. The answer is yes. Well, Mizuno's made in the United States, right, Tom?
No.
Yeah, they're assembled. A lot of these places are assembled in America, but the heads are all made overseas.
Okay,
Mizuno's
gotcha.
made in Japan, though, not China. Mizuno's heads are Japanese made, not Chinese. Them, Miura, a couple others are Japanese made.
Japanese are the best, I think.
Their forgings are very good. You can't beat Miura's.
We're
Yeah,
supposed to
but,
go see Darren now.
Yeah, well, we exclusively sell tour edge clubs, which is kind of the senior market, and they are made in the United States, and they offer a lifetime guarantee on any club you buy from them. So if it breaks or you have a problem with it, they'll replace it free of charge. So that's why we kind of like the tour edge stuff around here.
No, the senior tour, they're big on the senior tour now.
Yeah,
Langer's playing them.
Yeah, the exotics were always popular. I mean, Gene had one. He had the exotics and the hybrid and the exotics and the 3-wood were very popular.
all right. So if there's no other questions, we're gonna call it a night here.
By the way,
One more chance
most
for
of the
any
grips,
questions?
golf pride and everything's made in Mexico, I think.
Yeah, I don't know about that. You
You
could
get
be
a free
right.
taco, with a regrip.
All right, last chance. No more questions.
Going once, going twice.
All right.